Hey everyone, Azim here. We are in chapter 11, axial muscles. In chapter 10, we finished talking about muscle tissue and also different muscle orientations and what an agonist and antagonist are, origins and insertions. Here we're talking about whole muscles, starting with muscles in the axial plane. We'll talk about appendicular muscles, the muscles of your arms and legs, in the next chapter. There are a lot of muscles in the body. We went over every single bone in the body, I guess minus those little tiny sesamoid and sutural bones, but every bone that has a name. We're not going to go over every skeletal muscle in the body. There's a lot, and I'm going to focus on the ones that I feel are pretty important. I mean, it's hard to make that decision of which ones to leave out, but I've left some out, just so you know. The ones that we cover here are the ones I'm asking you to know. The ones that we're going to cover relate to muscles of facial expression, mastication, that's just a fancy word for chewing, posture, and breathing. Those are pretty important for living. And the others are useful as well. It'll be important to identify this not only in models, but also in a cadaver. So I'll share the links with you in Acklins, and I'll also show you in complete anatomy so that I can give you a three-dimensional view. But of course, we're going to have to take a look at a cadaver in lab. And when you look at this picture, you might think that they are torturing this poor subject, but he's fine. What they're actually doing, though, is stimulating his muscles. When you look at his face, you might think that he might be scared or surprised. We are able to interpret things based on this muscle movement. So that's one thing I want you to get away from this, that movements are interpretable. We can see what result there is from seeing the facial movements or any other kind of movement. The other thing is that these are electrodes, these devices that this scientist is holding. You can stimulate skeletal muscles with electrodes. You don't need nervous system input necessarily. Normally, to control muscles, you use your nervous system. The nervous system creates an electrical signal within your muscles that, when the sodium rushes in through those channels, to cause the release of calcium to cause contraction. But here we're artificially creating it by sending electrical current into these muscles. And by contracting these muscles, we can get certain shapes, certain movements resulting. So we are going to look at the different movements allowed by different muscles. We're going to match muscles to movement. Real briefly though, we're focusing here on the axial musculature. Those are bones of the head and neck, bones of the vertebral column to help with your posture or to flex it, bones of your muscles of your thoracic cage, and muscles of the abdominal pelvic walls. Once again, we are not going over every single muscle in the body. We're going to focus on facial expression, chewing and swallowing, posture, and breathing. And even then, we won't be going over every single muscle. Let's focus first on muscles for facial expression. Muscles of the forehead, they insert into the skin. Many muscles of facial expression insert into the skin. That allows you to move your face around. By inserting to the skin rather than bone, you're moving skin, making expressions. Forehead muscles insert into the skin to move your eyebrows and to move the skin of your frontal region. So there are two big muscles. Well, one's bigger than the other, but the one here in the front, this is called the frontalis. The frontalis, when it contracts, it pulls up. And when you pull up, you make your eyebrows raise. Your frontalis helps elevate your eyebrows, and therefore it wrinkles your forehead. Your occipitalis, back here in the occipital region, it's harder to control for most people. I personally can't control it very well, but this would move your scalp posteriorly. It helps you unfurrow your brow. Recall that these two muscles are connected. They're connected by a specialized tendon, the epicranial aponeurosis, so that when one contracts, the other gets pulled along with it. So they kind of work together. Sometimes some textbooks will call them the same muscle, that they're just different sections of the same muscle. But I'm going to separate them: frontalis in front, occipitalis, occipital. There are two muscles, one on either side, over here, where your eyebrows are. And when they contract, they lower your eyebrows, so they depress your eyebrows and also make them move medially. They give you a worried look. They wrinkle your eyebrows. Gives you worried, sad eyes. The term for this muscle, it's called corrugator supercilii. Supercilii, super means above, cilii means hair. So it's above the hairs of your eyebrows, sort of. It's really right along it. The word corrugator, if you ever look at corrugated cardboard, look at corrugated cardboard on its side. On its side, you'll see two flat pieces of paper, and then in the middle, you'll see this wavy stuff. That's the corrugated part. Corrugated means wavy. So it's this wavy textured muscle that furrows your eyebrow. You can see examples of how these are used. For example, frontalis is used in this picture. Frontalis is used slightly here. Corrugator supercilii is used to bring the eyebrows a bit more medially. Here it's really being used to medially and inferiorly move your eyebrows. To close your eyes, you use a muscle, a circular muscle, and it surrounds your eyes to move inwards, to close your eyes. This is the Orbicularis Oculi. Orbicularis means round, orbit. Or Orbicularis means orbit, go around. Oculi means eye, the ocular region. Orbicularis Oculi. Moves the eyelid, eyebrows, so close them. I hope that's pretty straightforward. Orbicularis oculi is surrounding your eye. Orbicularis oris is around the oral region. It surrounds your mouth. Orbicularis oris surrounds your mouth. Buccinator, this is a fun name. Remember the buccal region is your cheek? So the buccinator is along your cheek. It's this sort of wide muscle. Take a look here in this view. Wide, flat muscle, a little bit deep. It compresses your cheek and pulls your lips tightly across your teeth. If you ever play a trumpet, if anyone plays a horn, then you're using the buccinator a lot. If you smirk, if you have a sarcastic face like that, you're really pulling in. Here's a good example of using the buccinator. The risorius is at a bit more superficial. Let me draw buccinator again. Take a look over here. Buccinator is deeper. Risorius is a thinner, strappier muscle that's more superficial. Risorius pulls your lips a bit more horizontally. It's not a full smile. A full smile is where it goes diagonally up, where you not only go laterally, but you also elevate. That's a true smile. We'll get to that in a minute. Risorius, if you just use that alone, it just pulls laterally because it goes laterally. You can call this a fake smile, pursing your lips. The muscles above your lip, superior to lip, that I want you to know about, there are three. The first is called Levator Labii Superioris. It elevates your upper lip. It raises your upper lip. So if you want to watch my teeth, my bottom teeth aren't showing, but my top teeth are. To do that, I need to use this muscle to pull up. Look at how it originates around where the eye is. Here's the origin, the insertions of the lip. So in a face like this, you'd have to use your Levator Labii Superioris. To smile, you want to elevate and go lateral at the same time. You're going at a diagonal. Risorius only went lateral. These two muscles that go to your zygomatic bone, your zygomatic bone is pretty diagonal on your face. These are the Zygomaticus major. Let me color them. Zygomaticus major and Zygomaticus minor. We're going to see a lot of pairs of muscles that are major and minor. The major one is bigger, and the bigger ones tend to be more inferior, tend to be lower down. So the major is the slightly bigger one and a little bit lower down. Minor is a little bit higher and a little bit thinner, but they have a very similar function. They're both pulling at that angle. We'll get to other pairs, and those pairs sometimes have different functions. So in this case, they have a similar function. You can see a true smile here. The Zygomaticus major and minor contracting fully. If you want to lower your mouth or lip, different muscles, because you remember muscles only pull. So if you want to pull the upper lip up, you have to find muscles up here. If you want to pull your lower lip down, you have to go for muscles down here. To lower your lower lip, you want to use your depressor labii inferioris. Labii means lip, inferioris is inferior. You're lowering your lower lip. That can be found. It inserts a bit medially on the lip, anchors slightly laterally. Here, you can see the teeth showing in this picture. So the depressor labii inferioris is being used. If you want to pull your mouth at an angle, you're using a different muscle, depressor Anguli Oris. You're pulling at an angle of the mouth, Anguli Oris. This muscle goes to the corner of the mouth and pulls. So here you can see the mouth being pulled for depressor Anguli Oris. If you want to protrude your lip, feel your chin when you do that. Scrunches up your chin. The muscle is right here for pouting, for protruding your lip. That muscle is the mentalis. Mental is your chin, mental region, so it's the mentalis. That muscle is more medial on your chin. And once again, here's mentalis being used. The lower lip is protruding, coming out at you. Oops. There's one muscle that starts on the face, but it actually goes down to your neck. This is called the platysma. It's got a funny name. Platysma starts at your chin and goes all the way down your neck to your clavicle. So it's this thin, flat muscle. This really thin, flat muscle is the word platy. Platy means flat. Maybe you've heard of a platypus. A platypus is a duck-billed organism. It's a mammal. It's a really interesting one. Anyways, it's got a flat bill. Platy means flat. that's the same stem. Platysma, flat muscle, it helps you depress your mandible, lower your jaw at the temporomandibular joint. Gives you a surprise face. You do that with your neck, that's your platysma. So that obviously influences your facial expression, as well as helping lower your jaw if you need to chew, for instance. Speaking of chewing, muscles of mastication. There are four major ones, four major muscles for chewing. The most superficial is the masseter. The masseter is also on your cheek. We've seen the buccinator on your cheek, and it kind of starts anterior, goes posterior. This one is going perpendicular, more up, down, a little bit of diagonal. There's masseter, going from the zygomatic bone to the mandible. The masseter elevates your temporomandibular joint, so it helps you close your jaw. So you can chew, for instance. The masseter is the most superficial. The largest one is this one up here. By being higher up, it has more leverage. This is the temporalis. It's larger, it's stronger, has more leverage. This is the one that would generally get a headache, say, if you grind your teeth at night. It's important to wear a mouth guard in that case. So the temporalis also helps elevate, close your jaw. It also helps retract, to pull back your temporomandibular joint. When we chew, it's not always just a chop, chop, chop. It's always a grinding and lateral twisting. Not twisting, but grinding. There are two muscles that are deeper to the masseter. And these muscles are the medial pterygoid, which is more perpendicular vertical, and then the lateral pterygoid, which is going more horizontal, lateral. They're named after where they're connecting on the sphenoid bone. So they're pretty deep. This picture here has cut away a piece of the mandible so that you can see these muscles. The lateral pterygoid is attached on the lateral side of the pterygoid process. The medial pterygoid is on the medial side of the lateral pterygoid process. I'll show you that in complete anatomy in a second. The difference, despite their similar names, the difference is that the medial pterygoid is for elevation. So we've seen masseter is for elevation, temporalis is for elevation, medial pterygoid is for elevation. Three muscles for closing. Really important that you close and chew hard if needed. But the lateral pterygoid, lateral is for depressing and protracting. Depressing is the opposite. So the lateral pterygoid is the antagonist to the other three, as well as the platysma. Platysma also opens your mouth. Depress, again, means open jaw. The lateral pterygoid is also the antagonist of temporalis. Temporalis retracts while lateral pterygoid protracts. Here is that picture of the medial and lateral pterygoids. Take a look at this left picture here. You can see the lateral pterygoid attaching to this lateral edge, while the medial pterygoid is attaching to the medial edge. So the lateral pterygoid would be attaching over here, while the medial pterygoid would be in over here. I want to show you this in 3 dimensions. So to access this link that I'm about to go to, if you go to the videos of skeletal muscles found in the weeks module, plenty of them videos of me showing stuff in models, which will be important to look at. So please take a look at these. But if you scroll down to complete anatomy and click on skeletal muscles, that will bring you to this. I'm going to X out of this screen mode. Click on keep current model position. And let's go through all the muscles that we just discussed. Here is frontalis. They call it frontal belly of the occipital frontalis muscle. We'll just call it the frontalis. Here's the corrugator supercilii. Let me isolate it. There's one of the corrugator supercilii. It's a little bit deep to the frontalis. The frontalis, forgot to mention, look at how it's connected through this aponeurosis. Here's the epicranial aponeurosis, connecting back here to the occipitalis, which is not as big. So you have one occipitalis on one side, one occipitalis on the other side. Surrounding the eye, we have the Orbicularis Oculi. There's the left. And there's the right. They've separated the different parts. This also is also part of the Orbicularis Oculi. We won't separate the different parts. Surrounding the mouth, Orbicularis Oculi. Again, it's separating parts. We won't distinguish between the different parts, but Orbicularis Oculi, excuse me, Orbicularis Oris surrounds the mouth. The Buccinator, remember, is a little bit deep. Do you see this wide, flat muscle? Let me isolate it. This is the Buccinator. When you contract it, it compresses your cheeks. Risorius is superficial to it and thinner. Here's the risorius muscle. Pulls your mouth laterally. Pulling your lip up, you've got the Levator labii superioris. Zygomaticus minor is higher up than the Zygomaticus major. Here is minor. And here's major. Depressor labii inferioris pulls down. So there's one, and there's the other. Depressor anguli oris is off to the side at the corner of the mouth. Whoops, that's Platysma. Depressor anguli oris comes at a corner. And then mentalis comes to the middle of the chin. Here is mentalis. At least one of them. You can see how large platysma is. It goes across your chest, across your clavicle. Goes pretty lateral as well. And then going to the muscles of chewing, we've got temporalis is the big one. If I isolate it, you can see how it inserts into the coronoid process of the mandible. That's the temporalis muscle. The masseter is this large one on the cheek, and it goes to the ramus of the mandible. That's the masseter. Oh, that is another part of the masseter. I'm trying to reach the pterygoids, and I might have to dissect a little bit. So deeper within, here's the lateral pterygoid. I'm going to go underneath. Oh, good. We can go in the back. So here's posterior view of the skull, now a bit inferior. Look at how it attaches to this lateral pterygoid process of the sphenoid bone. That's the attachment point of the lateral pterygoid, which looks more horizontal. Compare that with the medial pterygoid. The medial pterygoid attaches lower down. Lateral pterygoid was over here. Medial pterygoid is one highlighted in orange. See the difference where it's attaching. All right, that's part one. In the next videos, we'll take a look at muscles of the vertebral column, breathing and abdominal muscles. So yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Let me know if you have any questions.